face like, do I pour ya? Do I annoy ya? Cause on the daily I drive me crazy. I'm so motherfucking chaotic. You were the achiever, I'm more like the dreamer. You ain't down on options, I just go and freak 'em. When I hit the ceiling, you'll be right beneath me. If I fall, you catch and put my feet on the ground. Sorry, I'm so hyper, 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 hyper. I'm so fucking hyper, 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 hyper. Got home at 4:23. Lights on, you stayed up just waiting for me. Thank God you're still here, baby. Oh, I know I get in your hair. Grab mine and make me regret. Make me swear I'll bounce right back here. So I'm in your face, do I pour ya? Do I annoy you? Cause on the daily I drive me crazy. I'm so motherfucking chaotic. You were the achiever, I'm more like the dreamer. You ain't down on options, I just go and freak 'em. When I hit the ceiling, you'll be right beneath me. If I fall, I catch you, boom, on the ground. Sorry, I'm so hyper, 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 hyper. I'm so fucking hyper, 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 hyper. So we lie, day and night. We gon' be alright when I get hyper, 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 hyper. Whoa, things, very things. Hold me down and fix me up. Hold you, understand. Arms around my head when I get hyper, 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 hyper. You were the achiever, I'm more like a dreamer. You ain't down our options, I just go and freak 'em. If I fall, I